So we have seen some basic validation rules. Let me go and see what validation rules we have seen. Right. So these are the two validation rules we have seen. And I guess I have told you something like, combining these two validation rules and writing the logic which is there in the two validation rules in single validation rule. This is for length. If length is not equal to 14 characters, then it should fire error message, right? So this is the validation rule for length of the phone field, and it is to make the phone number mandatory, right? So let me go and check whether these two are working or not. So one is to make phone number mandatory, right? So save. So we got please enter phone number. So it is working. Now my phone number must be of 14 digit characters. Why 14 digit characters? Because there are some special characters entered here. So one open brace and one closing brace, two, and a space in between these two, three, and a hyphen here. So total 14 characters. So I want to print my phone number in this format. That is why I have taken 14 as the length of my phone number field, right? So if now I will enter the phone number, valid phone number, then yeah, it is saved. And again, if I edit it and I remove some characters and I try to save it. So phone number must have 10 digits, right? So if you give the values, then you are able to save. What if you give more number of characters? We'll check that also. Please, and phone number must have 10 digits. Now I will enter 10 digits. Okay, so automatically it is taking the format. So that is a standard functionality provided by Salesforce. Now if you save, now you are able to save. So these two validation rules we have written separately. Now I want to combine these two and write one validation rule for both of these. Okay, so edit it. What is the logic here? Length. And if you edit it, is blank. So what I do is I will take this, copy it, and paste it here. Okay, so now my logic is I need these two conditions. I want these two conditions. So if any one of these conditions is failed, then I should fire a validation error message. For that, you can take a function called OR. If any one of them is true, if any one of them is satisfied, then I have to fire a validation error message, right? OR. So as these are two separate functions, I need to include a comma to separate these two functions. That's it. Okay. Now check for syntax errors. No errors found. Save it. Okay. Now this is the validation rule which is having both the functionalities. So now what I do is I deactivate this one. I don't need this one anymore. Say I deactivated it. Okay. Now if you go back to your validation rules, we have two validation rules, but this is not active. If you want, you can delete this. Delete it. So we have only one validation rule. And what is this for? This is to make sure the length of the phone 10 characters, including special characters, it is 14, and to make the phone number field mandatory. Okay, so these are the two functions defined in this validation rule. Now we will check the functionality whether this is working properly or not. We'll see. Or else take any existing account, edit it. So if I don't give anything there, I should fire some error message. Phone number must have 10 digits. So I have to change the error message also. Okay, so this is for both the functions, to check the length and to check whether is there any value or not. Phone number is a mandatory field and must have 10 digits, right? So that is my validation error message. Save it and go to this account record, and if you save it now, you can see phone number is a mandatory field and must have 10 digits, right? I give some value which is more than 10. Again you got the same error. Now I give 10 numbers. Save. Now you are able to save this. Okay, so instead of writing multiple validation rules for only one single field, you can write all the validations. I mean, if possible, you can make it in one validation rule to reduce the count. Okay, so this one we are writing on the phone. So each blank we are writing on phone, and each length, I mean length is also we are writing on phone. So that is why I combined these two validation rules and make it as one. Okay, right. We'll see some more examples. So let's go and see. Yeah, we got account number. Okay, so let's go and check the type of data type of that account number field. So account number is a text field. Text means it can accept either alphabets or numericals. It is a alphanumeric field, right? So let me show you whether it is accepting alphabets or not. Save it. So you are able to save, right? So account number is accepting both numbers and alphabets. But what I wanted to have is, if a user is entering any alphabet in the account number, I wanted to throw some error message. Okay, and I also want to make this account number as mandatory. So now it is not mandatory. It is not a mandatory field now. See, we are able to save the record. That means it is not a mandatory field. So what I wanted to do is, I want to make this account number mandatory, and I want to make sure that user is entering only digits in this field. Okay, so let's see how we can write a validation rule for that. So as we are having the requirement only on one field, you can use one validation rule, right? So first what I do is, so to make the field as mandatory, what we have to use, we have two functions. One is blank and the other one is null. We discussed about this in the previous class. Is null and is blank. Okay, these are the two functions which are used to make a field mandatory. What is the difference? See, the description is same, checks whether an expression is null and returns true or false. And for is blank, same, checks whether an expression is blank and returns true or false. So is null is only for number data type fields. If the data type of a field is number, then you can use is null. But here this is text field. Okay, so is blank accepts both text and number fields. Okay, so that is the difference between these two. Right. So first I will write the logic to make the field mandatory, as it is a text field. Sorry, I want to make it mandatory. So you can take is blank, what I can write, the field name, account number. Okay, check for syntax, no errors. So if you can't write this here, if you don't know how to write it, then you can use this is blank, insert selected function, You got it, and in place of expression you have to insert the field. This is the account number field. Insert. That's it. Okay, so account number is a mandatory field. Save. Right. Now go to account record, edit it, and save it without giving value in account number field. You got the error message. Account number is a mandatory field, right? So if you give something, say, now you are able to save because you have given something. But my requirement is to make restrict users from entering alphabets in this account number field. I want to restrict the users, okay, so that the users can enter only digits, no alphabets. For that, go to the same validation rule. If you see the functions, is number, use this is number function. What this is number returns? If the input entered into the field is a number field, it returns true, otherwise false. Okay, so if the user is entering, anyway you can also keep it here, if the user is entering some number, then it returns true, otherwise it returns false. Okay, so is number, account number. Right, see here, is blank. If the field is empty, then it is returning true, then it is firing some error message. Here is number, if the value entered is number, then it fires error message. But my requirement is not, it should not fire the error message when the entered value is a number. It should fire some error message when the entered value is not a number. I mean, if it's a alphanumeric value. Okay, so for that what I have to use is, I have to use a not function for this is number. You got me? If you got any doubt, you can stop me. Not of is number. If that is not a number, that means not of is number means if that is not a number. Okay, so here we have to use and or what we have to use, and or what we have to use, I want to make the field mandatory, and I also want to make the user to enter only numerics. So that is the reason I have to use and. So no syntax errors. Now I am giving a alphanumeric character, save. We are able to save because we have to use R. So if any of this condition is satisfied, then that should fire a error message, right? Edit, save. account number is a mandatory field. And now I change this error message also. Account number is a mandatory field and must be a number. Okay. So if I remove these characters, try to save it, you are able to save it. Right. So if you give alphabets, then you are not able to save it. Again, you are not able to save it because it accepts only numeric values, right? So this is one more validation rule, and we'll see some more. So okay, suppose you wanted to have a number field and which should be in a proper format. Suppose if that is a social security number, how we generally write it? So it is a nine digit number and we'll be writing this manner. And okay, so this is the format we generally write for a social security number. Okay, so now I want to get this functionality. I want to make the user to enter a social security number in this format. How we can make it? We'll see. So we have a function called regex, which is a regular expression. You can call the function as regular expression. So do we have any SSN number field here? We don't have a SSN number field. So let's create a SSN number field. Now you have to refresh this field. You have to refresh this page. Right. So we got SSN number field here. Okay. Now I want to write my validation rule on the SSN number. Right. So this is my error message. SSN number must be in this format. So I'm giving an example of it. So first we'll write the expression regex. Okay. So if you don't know the syntax of it, you can use it here. Yeah, we got regex here. Regex and text. You have to enter the field name. Why this underscore C? I guess I have already told you. See, for each and every object we'll be having some standard fields. Okay, so these are the standard fields. You have not created these. These are already available, and these are the some of the custom fields you have created. Okay, these are the some of the custom fields you have created. So here when you are taking a reference of any field in coding or in validation rules or in formula fields anywhere, for standard fields you have to use the field name. Before we have taken account number field, see here there is a gap between these two. We have not used it. We have used this one. So this is field name. It is field label. Okay, so label is something which is on the display. So when you see the account name or when you see this account number, how it looks like. See here there is a gap. So this is field label. So you have to use field name when you are taking some reference of it somewhere. Then you have to use field name. And in case of custom fields, you have to take API name. Okay, so API name for each and every field must be appended with __c. Okay, see each and every field will be ending with __c. So just now I have created a SSN number field. So this is my field. So the API name for this is SSN __c. Right. So this is my field, and here I have to enter the expression. Okay. So my expression should contain numbers 0 to 9. So whatever you wanted to use, you have to put them in the square brackets. So I want to use 0 to 9. I want to use numbers 0 to 9. How many characters? I want to have 3 characters here. Okay. So after that, I want to have a hyphen. And again, I wanted to use numbers from 0 to 9. And how many characters I wanted to have? 2. And again a hyphen. Again, I wanted to have numbers from 0 to 9. And how many I need now? 4. So the number of characters you wanted to have, you have to keep them in the curly brackets, and whatever you are using in the field, you have to keep them in the square brackets. So this is my regular expression. Okay. See here, this is the exact expression which a user has to enter, right? So the validation rule should be fired when the user is entered any other number which is not in this format. That is my purpose, right? So for that I have to include not in the beginning. If the user entered number is not in this format, then fire the error message, right? Any doubts? Any syntax errors? No syntax errors. Save. Right. Let's go to this and try to save it. SSN number must be in this format. Now click on save. Now we are able to save the record. If you do some modification to it, I enter one more number and I click on save. Okay. See here you got the error. So you can try in any way. Let's remove the hyphen here and try to save it. So you cannot save this number unless you give the number in this format. Okay. Now you are able to save the number. So this is your regular expression. Okay. So what is the validation rule here we have written? Okay. So here it is not a mandatory field. SSN is not a mandatory field. So you can save it. Oh, we should provide a number in that format, right? Right. Now you are able to save it. Okay. So what if I wanted to use alphabets also? So I have taken only numbers here, right? But I wanted to use alphabets also. So how you can write it? You try it. You try in different ways to include both alphabets and numbers. So what I want to do is I want to I should be able to have alphabets also. Something like I enter some A here. Okay. So this should accept both numbers and alphabets. If you click on save, you will get error message. But try to work on this, and even though I give some alphabets here, I should be able to save the record. Okay. So for that you need to modify your validation rule. So try to work on it. Anyway, we can see it tomorrow. If you can't get it, nothing to worry, but give a try. Next we'll see some more. Right. So yeah, let's go to contact. So you can write your validation rule on any object based on your requirement, based on your business requirement. Now I want to see the fields. We have a lead source field. Okay. Okay. So what are the values we have in this lead source? We'll go and check. What are the pick list values? We have phone inquiry, web, partner referral, purchase list, and other. So when lead source is phone inquiry, then we must have a value in the phone number field. Okay, because the user is giving the information as the source of this lead is phone inquiry. So then we should have a phone number, right? So we'll try to get that functionality. Whenever we are giving the lead source as phone inquiry, then we must have the phone number. Otherwise, the user should not be able to save the record. See, here we have phone number, and here we have lead source field. My requirement is when the lead source is phone inquiry, and if we don't have phone number here, the user should not be able to save the record. Now we are able to save the record. Here it is phone inquiry and there is no phone number, right? So yeah, so you cannot enter all the information here. We have some limited characters here. So we have seen some validation rules, but we have not yet seen any pick list, any validation for a pick list field. Okay. So if you wanted to have a validation rule for a pick list, then you have to use text. Okay. Right. So anyway, we are giving some values here, right? So nothing to worry about it. But generally, if you wanted to access any pick list field, you have to use text. Okay. But we'll see that example also after this one. And here we are checking the pick list field. If the pick list field value is something, then we have some other functionality. We need to have some other functionality. So how we can check the pick list field value? We have a function called isPickValue. See here, this is the function we are going to use. So isPickValue. Enter the pick list field. What is that field? Lead source. Lead source. If the lead source is phone inquiry, the lead source is phone inquiry. Okay, then what we wanted to have? The user should enter the phone number, right? So we have to check whether the phone number is empty or not. For that we have to use is blank. Is blank. Okay, is blank phone. Okay, so right. So when the lead source is phone inquiry, there should be a value in the phone number field. Okay, right. So here what we have to use? And we don't want any one of the conditions. We want both the conditions. Here in this case, when the lead source value is phone inquiry, then phone number must have a value. Okay, so that is why we have to use and here. We'll check it now. Any syntax errors? Yeah, we have syntax error because there should be comma here. No errors now. Okay, so we write the error message. So this is my error message. Save it. Now go to contact. See here it is phone inquiry and there is no value in the phone. Save. Phone number is mandatory when the lead source is phone inquiry. Change the lead source. Keep it as web and there is no phone. Now you are able to save the record. Right. So edit it. And if you give phone inquiry, you will get the error message. So other than phone inquiry, if you give any other value in lead source field, you are able to save the record. Right? Only when it is phone inquiry, then you are getting the error message. So now I will give some phone number and I will save it now. Right. I'm able to save it. Okay. Right. So suppose here I have some other field. Of course, the lead source may be phone inquiry, and different people may be providing different kinds of information for contacting them. So some people they like to they give contact information of their email. They don't give the phone number. Some people they give their mailing address, right? So we'll create a field called contact type. We'll create a pick list contact type. Some people they don't like if the companies are contacting them on phone, right? So that is the reason we can have this contact type, maybe phone, email, or mail, right? So save this, right? So now I have contact to type also. If you can refresh this page, you can see, yes, here you can see the contact type field, right? So now I wanted to add one more condition. If lead source is phone inquiry and contact type is also phone, if contact type is also phone, then I wanted to fire the validation message, validation error. If the lead source is phone inquiry and the contact type, if the user is giving some email, then we should not have this error message because the user has provided email to contact him, right? So that is the reason there should not be no error message when there is no phone number. Okay. Only when the lead source is phone inquiry and the contact type is phone. Okay. Then only we should be firing this error message. Okay. Right. Even though if it is not phone inquiry, if it is of something else, but if the user is giving his contact type as phone, then we should fire this. Okay. Contact type is important here. Okay. So when it is email, there is no need to fire any error message on the phone number field. When it is phone, then only we should have this validation error message. Okay. Right. Suppose he is giving some lead source as phone inquiry and there is no contact type mentioned. Then also we should be able to fire this validation error message. You got the point? The validation error message should be fired when the lead source is phone inquiry, and this should be fired when the contact type is phone. Okay. So this should be fired if it is something else and this is contact type is phone, then also this should be fired. Okay. I mean, if any of these two is having phone, contact type is having phone or lead source is having phone inquiry, then we should be able to fire the validation error message. This is my requirement. Okay. So now I want to use the same validation rule. So take this and yeah, if any of those two conditions satisfied, lead source or contact type, right? So I wanted to use a speak value here. It is not case sensitive, so nothing to worry. Contact underscore type underscore C. What is the value? Contact type phone. Use com. Is equal contact type phone. Is equal lead source phone inquiry. I'm using or. If any of these two conditions are satisfied, we should be firing a validation error message. Okay. And we need to write one more. We need to check. We need to make the phone number as mandatory. So for that, is blank phone. So I will put the arrows, right? So this is the opening brace for this OR function, and this is the closing. Okay, and for AND, this is the ending. Okay, so in OR we have these two. If either of these two conditions satisfied, okay, and again in AND we have these two and this one. So if any of these and this comes under AND, clear? Any doubts? So no errors. Okay, if any of these two conditions are satisfied, and we have AND here, okay, if any of this one and this one is satisfied, right? So if take this as example, if contact type is phone, this condition is satisfied and the phone number is blank, then fire a error message. If lead source is phone inquiry, one condition is satisfied, we just need one, and we have AND, if the phone number is blank, then fire a error message. So let's see how this is going to work. We'll see whether it works perfectly or not. So yeah, remove it and save the record. Phone number is mandatory when the lead source is phone inquiry. So I want to change my error message. Or contact type is phone. Okay. So now save it. Phone number is mandatory when the lead source is phone inquiry or contact type is phone. Okay. So now I give something else here. Only lead source is phone inquiry and there is no phone number. I got the error, right? If I click on save, right, you got the error message. So if the lead source is phone inquiry and I give some phone number here and I try to save it, right, that is saved. Edit it and remove this one and contact type phone and give nothing here, try to save it, you got the error message. And if I give something here, now I'm able to save it. Okay, this is how you can use multiple validations in a single validation rule. Now we'll see one more example. We'll see how we can use if condition here. Okay, so you can use conditional statements also here. So now we'll see some if condition. Do we have any pick list fields? So we have email, and yeah, I will create one more field, one more pick list field. I will create a pick list field called city. So I give some values. Right. So refresh this. You got city field here. Okay. Now we got email also. I want to link these two fields. When city is Hyderabad, user must enter some value in the email field. Okay. So if he don't enter any value there, then we should fire an error message, and I want to get this functionality using if condition. Okay. Right, let's see how we can do that. So if condition, you can use it. You can use this one here. So these many parameters we have to pass. One conditional statement and one true value and one false value. Okay. Right. So if, for now, remove this text. I told you when you want to access a pick list field, you have to use text city underscore underscore c. In the previous case, we are checking the pick list value. That is the reason we used pick val. Okay. But here we are not checking what is there in the field. We are not taking the value, but we are comparing it. If text city underscore underscore c is equal to Hyderabad, put it in string, put it in quotes, Hyderabad. When city is Hyderabad, then I want to check whether is there any value in the phone number, email field or not. Is blank, email. Okay. Now give true, false. So what is the meaning of this true and false? If city is equal to Hyderabad and email is empty, it returns true. When it returns true, it fires a validation error message. Again, see, when city is equal to Hyderabad, email is null, is blank email is null. It returns true. When it is returning true, it fires a validation error message. So when the validation error message will be fired, whatever the condition we are writing here, if that is satisfied, then the validation error message will be fired. So let's check for syntax errors. Yeah, we got a syntax error. We don't need this because this is closing brace for this one, opening and closing, and this have opening and this closing, and for this is the opening and this is the closing. So we don't need any extra braces. So if expected 3, received 4. So we should use and here. We should not use are because we are checking both the conditions, not just one condition, right? So that is the reason. And city Hyderabad and is blank email. So here and condition ends. It returns true. If these two conditions satisfied, it returns true. Else it returns false. Okay. Right. Check syntax. Right. Okay. Now let's see. You got it right. When city Hyderabad and email is null, we should fire error message. I have done that using if condition. We can also do using some other. We have already seen using some other functions. We have already seen how we can do that. But using if, you need to know. Okay. Right. We saved it and go to contact record. If city is Hyderabad and there is no email, then it should fire error message, right? So save it. Okay. Email shouldn't be empty when city is Hyderabad. So now I give some email here. Now it is saved. Edit it. Only when it is Hyderabad, there should be some value in the email. So I give some value, some other value in the city, and there is no email. Now we should be able to save it. right? Okay. So only when the city is Hyderabad, there should be some email, otherwise it should fire some error message. Okay. So it's time for me to start my other batch. So let's see you guys tomorrow. Any doubts here so far? So if you got any doubts, you can ask me in the tomorrow session. Practice it. I'll be sharing this tutorial to you. So try to have your own ideas and try to implement them. You just think, to have some criteria and try to implement it. And if you can't get it, then you can ask me. Very simple. These are very simple, but you need a lot of practice to get these ones. Okay. So thank you so much, guys. Good night.